Today in this video, we're going to take a look at this retro game console that I just found off of Amazon. So this retro game console actually advertises over 45,700 retro video games, plug and play, ready to go. But you guys know how it is. Sometimes we find these plug and play consoles that are just too good to be true. So we've got to test it out. We're going to do a full unboxing today. We're going to do a full demo. We'll actually tour through exactly what this has to offer. So we'll see exactly what is included on here and how well it performs in the end. Let's dive into it. All right, guys, here is the console. This is the box that it'll come in. So let's go ahead and start opening this up, see what we've got waiting for us inside. All right, so the console must be in here. I'm seeing inside here we have two controllers, PlayStation 2 style, it looks like. Really lightweight, but at the end, they do seem somewhat responsive. Definitely don't feel super high-end by any means. Analog sticks are, pretty lacking, but hey, if it works in the end, that's all that matters. We know going into these plug-and-play consoles that generally the controllers aren't going to be super high-end. So these do go off of USB receivers, which you can see are back in here, where you would put your AAA batteries. So it runs off two AAA batteries. And then you need that plugged into the console. So I'm going to set these aside. That's all we've got inside here, it looks like. What else? Let me see. There's some manuals down here at the bottom, actually. There we go. All right, so we've got, let's see, a little card that shows you how to navigate your operating system menu. We've got a manual for Bluetooth IR Fly Mouse with voice. So this is a remote, which I'm assuming is in here because it's not in the box. And we also have a user manual for B-Link. So this must be a little mini, the console must be a mini PC made by B-Link. So let's see what we've got in here. All right, so this is our box that our console should be inside of. All right, cool. We've got our remote here, which we just saw the manual for. Looks like an actually nice quality remote. I usually don't use remotes for these, but it certainly is an option. We have a regular HDMI cable right here, power supply cable right here. This is a 12-volt power supply. We have a micro SD card here, which is a 8 gigabyte capacity, which is pretty small. And then here is, and it says B-Link right on there. So this is our game console, or mini PC, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's a game console that was made from, a TV box or a mini PC. So we've got the little skull logo on there, which looks pretty cool. Let's go through the ports on here first. And we actually have a micro SD card already inserted into this. Let's check the capacity on that. We've got 256 gigabytes. So I would imagine that this has all of our games on it ready to go. And then the 8 gigabyte is going to be probably if we wanted to use this as like a TV box. So we probably would swap that out, put in the smaller capacity one, but I'm here for the games. Let's see what this offers. Now, right next to it, we have two USB 3 ports. On the back side, we have a bunch of additional ports. We have our power supply port right here. That's where our power supply cable is going to plug in, just like so. Next to that, we have a regular USB port, HDMI port, Ethernet, and then we also have over here our audio video port. So on the side, it says Wi-Fi 6 over here. So we know that this is Wi-Fi capable, certainly. So all right, we'll go ahead and start setting this up. HDMI cable is going to obviously go directly into that port. Power supply right here. I'm going to plug this into my outlet, this into actually my capture card so you guys can see exactly what I see. And then the other side of my capture card will go into my TV. We'll go ahead and let me actually open this up. I'll throw some batteries in here. And of course, we're going to grab that USB dongle here, and we'll go ahead and plug that into one of those USB 3 ports, just like so. And this should be able to sync right up. So let's dive in and see how this pans out. All right, guys, so here we are jumping into this plug and play retro game console off of Amazon. So this advertises 45,719 games, and here we are on the all games list, and that's the exact number that is shown here. So far it looks to be 100% aligned with what's being advertised. But we still got to comb through this, make sure there's not a ton of duplicates here. So we've got our all games list. We'll take a quick peek at what that looks like inside here. So you can see that every single collection, or excuse me, every single title within each collection has box art or cover art of some sort. We also have the title up here in the top left corner. Right below that, the collection that we are currently highlighting, and then a description of each of the games. So we've got some N64 I can see. Looks pretty consistent throughout here. I'm also not seeing tons of duplicates. This is in alphabetical order, so we're currently in the numbers. And if we hold the D-pad right, you can see now we are, well, we're still in the numbers. So there's a lot of games on here, obviously, but let's hold it a little bit longer here. And we should hit the A titles over here first. So there's all the numbers flashing there. It does speed up the longer you hold it down. So here we are in the A titles. Now, I want to see if there's actually a jump to menu, because if you have to go title by title to find what you're looking for, it's going to take a really long time. So let me hit select on here. Sweet. So we do have these options. You don't always get these on plug and play consoles, but if you go down here, it says jump to game beginning with letter. And currently we're on A title, so it shows A. But let's say we're going into W, for example. We'll go over here to W. We'll select W, and it's going to bring us right over to the titles that begin with W, and then it's in alphabetical order. So, you know, if we were looking for like a WWF game, just as an example, we would just hold this down, go all the way to the end of the line there. So, looks to be very easy and user-friendly, so easy to navigate. Let's back out of this collection, though, and let's keep it moving. So, we've got favorite games over here. So, no games added in here, which is a good thing. You want to be able to customize this yourself. You don't want somebody else to pick out your favorite games for you. You want to be able to add whatever you want to jump into regularly into this collection just for easy access. Now we'll keep it moving and we'll go over to the next one. So over here we have CPC 464. Inside here, 2,917 games. Now I'm not going to jump into every single collection today. I want to go through each one and give you guys the game count, but we'll jump into some of the ones I'm most familiar with. So over here we have Amstrad GX 4000. Inside here we have 25 games. We have arcade over here. And how many arcade games? Just 11. Let's take a look at this. I see MAME is the next collection though. Usually arcade and MAME are exactly the same, so I bet MAME is a much larger collection. But let's see what 11 games are in here. So you can see laid out exactly as we saw before, title, followed by the collection. Right below that, we have the description of the title that we're currently highlighting. And then across the bottom, we'll just hit D-pad right to, or left, well, you know, once you get going to navigate through these. So we have a bunch of Street Fighter games. We've got Turtles in Time. Love that Ninja Turtles game. Probably one of my favorite arcade games, actually. So pretty cool selection. Only 11 games, though. But let's go to that next one. Whoops, jumping into the collection by mistake there. I guess we're going to find out how we exit games in here. So as this loads up, we can actually, let's see, how do we get out of this? Let's see.
This is April on the recording.
Oh, there we go. All right, so there's a mode button and then the start button. So if you hit those together, it exits you out of the game. So that's good to know. So the B button, which if you were on a typical PlayStation controller, because this isn't laid out with the symbols like a PlayStation controller would have, then you would actually be hitting the circle in order to select games that you want to jump into. Usually I'm used to hitting the X on a PlayStation style controller, so it's a little learning curve for me there. So here we are, MAME, which is arcade games. And we have 2,116 total games here, so massive amount of titles. We can go collection or game by game within the collection, and you can see consistently laid out. I'm not seeing any duplicates in here so far, which is good. So let's go in here and actually let's hit select, and I want to see if I love WrestleFest. I love WrestleMania. More so WrestleFest though. That's WW because both start with WWF. So let's go into X here, and we'll just go backwards, and there they are. Right there. So it saves a lot of time rather than being at the opposite end of the W's. So we've got WWF WrestleMania, we've got WrestleFest, we've got WWF Superstars here, and there's no duplicates. Everything is in here just once. I recently jumped into a plug and play console very similar to this, and there were literally 10 of each of those. So there were 30 games between those three titles. So you end up with a situation where you have a massive game count, but there's so many duplicates that the true count is much lower. And we're still scrolling through here, and I'm not seeing any duplicates so far. So far, I'm really happy with this. Of course, we got to make sure that the games perform properly. But so far, in terms of layout and the amount of titles offered here, everything seems to be on point. So really happy with this. I'm optimistic that we're going to get through this without any issues. Let's back out again. We'll keep it moving. Atari 2600. And I'm not going to jump into any Atari stuff today. So we'll just hit each collection and the game count associated with it. So Atari 2600, 594 games. Atari 800 over here with 2670, so 2670. Atari 5200 with 95 games. Atari ST with 854 games. We've got Atari 7800 here with 65 games. Atari Lynx over here with 82 games. We've got Wonder Swan. Wonder Swan has 114 games. Wonder Swan Color over here has 91 games. Now we have Capcom System, what looks like 1, 2, and 3, 25 games for 1. Over here for Capcom System 2, we have 31 games. This is the proper count for this. I actually saw, again, it was the same build that I was just talking about, same plug-and-play console, and there was actually one of these collections that had 3,000 games in it, which is just totally out of whack. And it turned out that they had Neo Geo games in here. They had some Nintendo titles. It was just an absolute mess. So I love that this is done the right way so far. Capcom System 3, we have 5 games in here. We have ColecoVision inside here, 146 games. We have VIC 20, which I'm not familiar with this collection at all, 174. We've got Commodore 64, probably a large collection, yeah, 6,550. We've got Amiga over here with 2,621 games. We have Video Pack Computer G7000, not familiar with this. Oh, it's Odyssey 2, okay, gotcha. Let's see, 28 games here. Here's Odyssey 2. Yeah, I'm not sure the difference on these. This is just before my time, honestly. So I'm not familiar with these. 113 games over here for Odyssey 2. We've got Intellivision here, 149 games. MSX, this has 540 games. MSX2 over here has 518 games. Vectrex over here with 46 games. We've got MSU1 Media Enhancement. We have 13 games here. PC Engine with 296 games. We've got PC Engine CD-ROM system, 2 games. We've got PC Engine or Super Graphics, 5 games. TurboGrafx 16, we've got 98 games. TurboGrafx CD, we've got 56 games. We've got PCFX over here with 50 games. Game & Watch, how many Game & Watch games? 59 games. Family Computer over here, 1,697 games for Family Computer. And then we also have NES over here. Obviously a massive favorite, 1,878 games. Let's jump in here and take a peek at NES and what that looks like. So we have some cover art or box art here. Everything looks consistent. Definitely very easy to navigate. All right, pretty good so far. We'll back out of this, and we have over here NES hacks, which is awesome to have. We have 340 NES hacks, so that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at these, see how they look. And we do have some cover art for these as well. Sometimes you don't get those with hacks like this, but looks well polished. I mean, I'm not somebody that really dives into a lot of hacks, especially for NES, but certainly cool to have on here. We'll back out. Next one over, Family Computer Disk System. So we have 209 games here. We have original Nintendo Game Boy, 1,175 games. We've got Super Famicom, 1,953 games. We've got Super Nintendo with 755 games. We got Super Nintendo hacks over here, 64 games. We've got Nintendo Virtual Boy, 33 games. We've got N64 over here. How many Wow, 461. Let's jump into N64. I keep hitting the wrong button here, just because I'm used to what would be the X button as the button to jump into collections, and it's actually the one next to it. So again, lots of games in here for N64. Let's comb through. We do have some international releases as well. A lot of US titles too, though. And let's see, do we have... I want to see if we have the cruising games, because those are my favorite racing games, probably in general, but certainly for N64. So we're going to scroll over to, I saw we have California Speed there, but it'll be a little bit further back. There we go. We've got all three of them. So we've got Cruisin' Exotica, Cruisin' USA, and Cruisin' World over here. I'm going to test out at least one of those here when we get to the testing portion of this video. I saw Donkey Kong 64. We got some Duke Nukem, Excite Bike 64. Do we have Mario Kart 64? That's going to be the big question here, because obviously Mario games are probably the most popular for this collection. So I see we have Madden, all the Madden for N64. We do. We've got Mario Golf. We've got Mario Kart 64. We've got, let's see, Mario Party 1, 2, and 3 over here. Mario Tennis. Sweet. We've got, looks like everything now. All right, we got to give it a wrestling test here now. Let's go over to the W's. Let's see if we got WCW and the, we also want to make sure that we have WWF. So what's this one right here? Virtual Pro Wrestling 64. But it says, I see NWO and WCW there. So is that just a, I wonder if that's, it's, okay. Developed by the same people who made WCW versus NWO World Tour. So it's just the, I guess the Asian version of this game right here. Okay, so we have it, and we have also the US version, so looking good. Do we have No Mercy? We do. And I also love WrestleMania 2000. I think it's definitely underrated. All right, I mean, looking good here. This is pretty much complete. All right, we're going to test out some of these games, but let's back out for now. Keep it moving. Game Boy Color, we have 1,046 games for Game Boy Color. We have Game Boy Advance, 1,811 games, and it's a little bit high on these numbers actually, but it's probably because we have like the bundle packs in here. I bet you if we jumped in here, we have some of those there we go. Yeah, the 2-in-1 game packs. So that accounts for the extra amount of games on here, because the true count would be a little bit less, but you can see they do have a lot of these 2-in-1 bundles in here, which, you know, you don't really need because you have the individual titles too, but you know, it's not a huge deal. All right, we'll keep it moving. Game Boy Advance hacks. We have 2 of those in here. Pokemon Mini over here with 43 games. We've got Nintendo DS, 996 games. Massive collection for Nintendo DS. I was never big into DS or emulating it, but certainly a lot of people are. So over here we have 39 games. So that's pretty cool. We've got Open Bore over here. We've got, how many games for Open Bore? 2 games. Yeah, it gets you started. What games do we have? Because Open Bore is pretty cool. Double Dragon 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom. So these are like custom made side-to-side beat-em-up style games. But you could definitely improve upon this collection, add a lot more. There's some really cool titles out there for this. Let's back out though, keep it moving. Atomic Wave. How many Atomic Wave games? 26. SG-1000 for Sega, 99. We've got Master System over here from Sega, 442. We've got Mega Drive with 381. We've got Genesis over here with 920. We've got Genesis hacks over here, 115, a lot of hacks. Sega Game Gear over here with 406 games. Game Gear hacks as well, 25 games. Mega Drive, we've got 1,206. We've got Sega 32X over here with 37. We've got Sega Mega CD, 2 games. We've even got Sega Saturn, all right, 35 games. And let's see what we have for Saturn, because Saturn can be a pain to actually emulate. So I want to see how that performs on here. Let's see what games we have. So just going to comb through here real quickly. Daytona USA, Die Hard Arcade. Okay, 2 of my favorite Saturn games right there, side by side. Dragon Force is cool. What else do we have? Actually, some pretty decent games. I don't jump into Sega Saturn all that much. Sega Rally over here is cool. Sonic Jam, Sonic R, Virtual Cop 1 and 2, Virtual Fighter 1 and 2 as well. We've got X-Men, Children of the Atom, and we also have over here X-Men versus Street Fighter. So actually a really great assortment of Sega Saturn games. Usually the Saturn collections are not that great, so sweet. Sega Dreamcast. How many Dreamcast games? 6 games. All right, so not a massive Dreamcast collection. What do we have though? This is probably my all-time favorite retro game collection. If I had to choose, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, you can't go wrong with that. In fact, you can't have a Dreamcast collection without that game. Sega NBA 2K2, I actually have this game. Physical copy. We have Power Stone over here. We have Phantasy Star Online. Never played that one. We have Rez. We have Sonic 2 Adventure. All right, so strange that you have Sonic 2 without Sonic 1 Adventure, but hey, not a big deal. At least there's some pretty sweet games in this collection, even though it is much smaller than it probably should be, if I'm being totally honest. Sega Naomi over here with 54 games. So there's more Naomi than there is Dreamcast, which is strange. But let's see what we have in here. So we have, 54 games. We should have pretty much everything. We've got Crazy Taxi, Death Crimson, OX, Dead or Alive 2. All right, we got some pretty good stuff here. Giant Graham 2000 is a pretty sweet game, as is this one. Giga Wing 2. We've got some, what else we have here? Marvel vs. Capcom 2 over here as well. All right, pretty good stuff. Power Stone 1 and 2 in here. So at least, even though Dreamcast is pretty sparse, this collection right here is, definitely loaded. House of the Dead 2, Virtua NBA, Virtua Strikers, Virtua Tennis, Wave Runner, WWF Royal Rumble, love that game. Zombie Revenge is a cool one too. All right, so pretty sweet collection here. Let's back out. Sharp 68000, we've got 847 games. We've got Sinclair ZX81, 70 games. We've got Sinclair ZX Spectrum over here with 6,161 games. That's pretty extensive. SNK Neo Geo CD, 3 games. Regular Neo Geo over here with 151 games. So your Metal Slug games will be in here. Neo Geo Pocket, 82 games. Neo Geo Pocket Color over here with 89 games. We've got original PlayStation. Inside here we have 529 games. We'll take a quick little peek at this. Consistent the way that they laid this out, as we've seen everywhere so far. No obvious duplicates. Really have to, give them some praise here for not having a ton of duplicates here. I can't say that there's none, but I really can't say I've also come across any so far. Not going to say that there aren't any hiding anywhere, but pretty sweet selection. Saw some Crash games here. And these actually look like, are they? It might be like one of those multi-disc ones. Not sure about that, so I don't want to say that they're duplicates. Sometimes you get, multi-disc games and they come across in emulation collections as duplicates, but they aren't truly duplicated. All right, pretty extensive here, and we're seeing a lot of foreign releases, but we're also seeing a lot of US releases, so that's probably why we have the higher number here, because I was pretty surprised to see that there were that many games. But Hydro Thunder, one of my favorites from the arcade, the port to PS1 was actually pretty good as well. All right, so we'll back out of this one and keep it moving here. We got PSP with 15 games. Now let's see, are they true PSP games? Well, this one is. So there are some PSP Minis games. Actually, no, they're mostly legit, full-on PSP games. So we got some Metal Slug in here. We got some Myst, NBA 2K11. Actually, one of the more, well, I guess that's not modern. I was gonna say this is probably the first modern NBA 2K game that I played. But I guess 2011 is not modern anymore. But this is one of the first later releases, going back, probably the first time I played it from like 2K2 in all honesty. So pretty cool to see that in here. And this is actually a pretty sweet game too. I've played this and emulated this game quite a bit. Ridge Racer for PSP. We'll jump into probably one of those, probably Ridge Racer, because it's a great game to test out the performance of the collection with. It isn't the easiest to emulate by any means. All right, so pretty cool. We'll back out. And we have, all right, sweet. So we have PSP Minis here, a separate collection. That's always good to see, because a lot of times you'll come across a collection in a plug and play sort of scenario like this, and it'll say like 250 PSP games, and then you open it up and it's all PSP Minis. So I like the fact that they have separated that. So we have a separate collection for just PSP Minis versus regular PSP. So in here you can find like your Angry Birds and like Pool and, you know, different minis games like that, which are still pretty cool, but definitely good to have them separated from regular full-on PSP. All right, so we'll back out of this. And we have Supervision over here, which is going to be our last collection with 66 games. So, I mean, really impressed by the layout here. Very user-friendly. Love that there's not, you know, really any duplicates in here. So now we got to test out a bunch of different games just to make sure that everything's going to perform properly here on this mini game console. So let's dive into a bunch of demos and see what the experience is like here.
Looked like it really hurt. Oh, he's got good insurance. Front suplex. Goodness. The Boston Crab.
Suns up by 3. Head fake. Shoots for 3. What a shot! 1 minute to go. To Kemp. Delivers the facial.
All right, guys, so we just jumped into this plug-and-play retro game console, and I was surprised that the performance was actually as good as it was here. Looking at the console here, it is very compact, very low profile, so being able to accommodate this on your desk or your mantle or wherever you want to set up a game console like this, it would be very easy to do that, very convenient. So I definitely like that. This offers a lot of great port options here. So we have 3 USB ports on here, 2 are USB 3, 1 regular USB. We have our audio jack on here to plug in speakers or headphones. We have Ethernet port on the back. We have micro SD card slot, so we can add our operating system with all of our games on it, which came already inserted and ready to go on that 256 gigabyte micro SD card. So it is very much plug and play. The controllers that come with this, as I mentioned as we unboxed it, they're very entry level. And as I jumped into the games, I found out that they're really poor quality, which didn't really surprise me. It's typically what we get with plug and play setups like this. They're basically thrown in there to get you into games, but you definitely want to upgrade those. So let's talk about first the layout of everything internally once we boot everything up. I was very pleasantly surprised that there's not tons of duplicates, because that's the biggest issue with plug and play game setups like this. Usually you have a really attractive number, in this case over 45,000 retro video games, but we find out that there's duplicate after duplicate, and the true number is usually a fraction of what is advertised. That wasn't the case here. They're very upfront and honest about their true game count. It was exactly as advertised, and there's not tons of duplicates. It's very well put together, easy to navigate because everything's in alphabetical order. Everything is scraped in the same way, so all of the data is consistent, collection by collection. Layout doesn't differ collection by collection either. And we have that jump to menu, so we can actually jump into specific titles that start with a specific letter. So it saves us a ton of time when searching through a master game list or a really jam-packed collection, something like N64 where we had tons and tons of games. It would take us all day to scroll game by game through there if we didn't have that jump to menu. So definitely like how user-friendly this is. Now let's talk about performance here. So we jumped into PSP. I tried to jump into just the most demanding stuff. So we jumped into PSP, N64, Classic Arcade, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Also jumped into some Super Nintendo, Sega Naomi as well. So I tried to focus on the higher end stuff, and everything did perform very well. The only shortcomings I had were with Ridge Racer in PSP and Cruisin' World in N64, but the issues were not due to limitations on the console. They were limitations on the controller. The analog on here just absolutely sucks. So navigating is a challenge, especially when trying to drift in Ridge Racer. It was just a really awkward experience. And then steering in Cruisin' World, just very awkward as well. It's just constantly overcorrecting because there's just no good feel to this. I mean, you're either making a hard left or a hard right with the analog stick, or you're not turning at all. It's just one extreme or the other. There's really no middle ground on there, and it's tough to get a feel for it because there really is no feel. You're either going all in or you're just going straight ahead. So that was unfortunate, but again, that can be solved by getting a brand new controller. So let's see what this is selling for currently, because prices do fluctuate. So I do want to see what this is currently selling for, because at the end of the day, it's going to boil down to whether it's worth it or not. So for the 256 gigabyte version, so this is the same console, but with the 256 gigabyte micro SD card ready to go inside of it, that's what I had here. It's selling for $279.99. I think that's a tall ask, honestly. Yes, the performance is good. Yes, the layout is pretty good on the actual console itself, but we don't have active cooling on here. It's very sealed up, so there's not great airflow. That being said, I didn't have overheating issues, but it could be, something that people run into if they're on this for a really extended period of time. I wasn't. I was on here for about 2 hours today testing everything out, but to the touch, it's warm, but it's definitely not hot. I could see it becoming an issue later on though, but at $279.99, I just think it's a lot of money for what you get here. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to convenience. Are you looking for everything that's offered here? Are you looking for, a well put together game collection, which you have on here, but you're paying a premium price for it? I mean, you can get something that's definitely more powerful than this plug and play console for considerably less than $279.99. Yes, you're going to have to get yourself a game drive as well, but you can get a game drive for, $50 in some cases, a really good game drive.
And then they can go up to, you know, $150, $200 from there. But even still, you're probably going to be around the same price point if you went with, you know, a $150 mini PC and then you got a game drive, you know, for $50 or $100. You're going to be around that same price point, but probably with more performance capabilities than what we have here. So, you know, if the price came down a little bit more, I think it could be worth it here. If this was like $150, I would say, yeah, it's worth it. If it was $100, definitely worth it. But $279.99, it's a tall ask, especially considering the fact that, you know, we don't get great controllers, so we're going to have to upgrade those. So $279 is going to turn into, you know, probably $330, $340 if we want to get decent controllers in the mix. So yeah, I think it's just a tall ask, unfortunately. But let me know what you guys think in the comments of this video. Let me know if you think this is too much money or if you think this is a fair price for, you know, what we get in the end here. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the content today, please give me a thumbs up. I'm going to provide a link to this product at the top of your screen as well as in the description so you can get some additional information on this. Check the price point, see where it's at currently. That's going to do it for today, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up right here on the video. And of course, hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all future videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.